Alrighty, so the video today is going to be about consumables. We're getting a couple of questions about things, or just a little guide or a general idea of what you should have on you or what you should run, because some people haven't even heard of oakfish bombs and stuff like that. So we're going to be taking a look at the consumables you want to have, especially if you PvP and especially if you're in light armor, because consumables in this game go a very, very long way to your survivability. The way you want to think about them is almost your defensive cooldowns. If you've played a game like World of Warcraft, you have an action bar that has tons of abilities where you can slot a bunch of different defensive abilities. But in New World, we have 3 abilities per slot. And you have defensive abilities that you can put on the bar, but it's very, very hard to cover all your bases and have enough damage and make a full build when you have 3 abilities per bar. So that's why the consumables are so important. We're gonna kind of start from I guess basic to the more advanced ones, I guess. But the first one, the most goated consumable that I've never seen anybody talking about, is going to be your hearty meals. Hearty meals are pretty easy to craft. They're really good to actually level up the lower tier meals, to level up your cooking if you don't have it up already. But hearty meals are probably one of the best consumables. I can't tell you how many times in combat I've been low. I'll pop a hearty meal, and sometimes even if I have a regeneration potion up as well, and just being able to dodge attacks for just a couple of seconds when I have a hearty meal up will sometimes net you 1,000 to 3,000, 4,000 health sometimes in a fight. And this will be the difference maker a lot of the times between you surviving. The thing you want to be aware of, obviously, is that the effect stops once you get hit. So that's why I mentioned it's so important to be dodging while you're using it. But yeah, hearty meals are going to be very, very good. Now, next up, the potions. The tier 5 infused, or whatever tier you are, depending on if you're first start, potions are going to be very, very useful as well. Now, we're going to kind of be mentioning trade skills a lot, but you want to be leveling up your trade skills, but I'll kind of touch on that in a little bit. But since the drop of brimstone, potions have been dropping at a higher rate that they've ever been, and because so many people are doing this content, potions on the market are the lowest they've ever been. It's actually crazy that I'm even seeing this. I haven't checked this in so long. Minimum potions were like 5 to 10 gold per. And because they drop so often in brimstone, as you can see, they are literally 20 gold for a stack. So actually, as a matter of fact, I'm going to do this right now. You really want to, you might as well just buy a bunch of these up and just put them in a storage or something and stock them up, since they're so cheap, because chugging these are going to be one of your most consistent and available defensive cooldowns. But even with regen potions, they don't drop as often, and they do cost a little bit more. But a stack of regen potions for 600 gold, anything less than 1,000 gold, is miles below what it was in the past. Now, I really, really recommend that you take a look at trade skilling if you haven't already. Arcana is a pretty straightforward trade skill to level up now, especially with the changes. You used to have to get a bunch of weird ingredients, but with the addition of Alkaheists, they made it a lot easier to just craft potions in general. So I'm gonna talk about kind of my thoughts about trade skills in general, but if you can make them yourself, that is already going to save you a bunch of money. But yeah, the health and regen potions are going to be super important. But jumping on to the next ones here, your oakfish bomb and your incense, or sorry, your gemstone dust. So these are probably one of the most important consumables that you can have. Now, one of them absorbs elemental damage and one of them absorbs physical. As you've seen from most of my videos, I usually don't have both. I will always have a hearty meal, both my health and regen, and then one of the two. Which one you run depends on you, honestly. It depends on what you run into more or what type of damage counters your build more. For the most part, the type of damage that's the most annoying to me is usually ranged players, like bows and muskets. And because of the fact that they can set up and shoot from so far away, I really like having old flesh bombs on so that I can have that defensive buff to be able to close the distance. There's different tiers of these, and as we're gonna see here, they are very, very expensive. So this is why I recommend leveling up your trade skilling, because even the lowest tier of oak flesh bombs are 13 gold per. So these are going to be very, very expensive to constantly be buying. It's much, much better to be crafting these. And I believe both the oak flesh and the gemstone dust are from armoring and weaponsmithing, if I'm not mistaken. Might be wrong about that, but yeah, it's in your armoring. So even if you don't plan on being a crafter and leveling up or crafting a bunch of weapons and gear, having up your weaponsmithing and armoring and furnishing even for your incense is going to be very, very lasting and long while for you in the long run for PvP. Tier 4s are what I craft. The thing about these are it uses motes, and it's the mote type corresponds with the tier of potion that you're making. So because the tier 5 quints are used for so many things, I'll generally make tier 4s for myself. If you can manage to make the tier 5s, then go for it. But as you can see, they're super expensive on the market. So yeah, these I would definitely try to be able to craft for yourself. But taking a look at the next tier, it's going to be your incense and your honing stone. Now, the honing stone is almost a optional. It's not like necessary to be competitive in PvP. You can 100% play PvP without running honing stones, but having any sort of damage buff at all is just nice. So that's why I like to use them. But incense is actually super clutch because it reduces the damage and or the duration of a ton of different debuffs in the game. Root, disintegrates, chill, a bunch of dots, a bunch of different things this helps with. And usually I'll be running this on all the time. Usually I'm running a honing stone and incense, and then whatever my food is. And then on top of that, I'll have all of my consumables and my potions. So yeah, that's the consumables that I would recommend running for PvP. When it comes to trade skilling, I know that it is very daunting once you get into it because there's so many, and it takes a decent amount at the beginning when you don't know what you're doing to level them up. But the best tip that I can give you is, number one, there is more than enough resources and guides out there on YouTube that show you some really good routes for each trade skill and the most efficient way to level them. But the most helpful thing that I can say is to take it slowly and to take it one step at a time. The way that I do my gathering, both while I was leveling up my trade skills and right now when I do my daily stuff, is usually when I hop on the game, before I do any PvP at all, I will do my daily routes. I'll get my ore, my skinning, my weird and ironwood. I'll go for all my motes. I'd like to do a pretty big gathering run before I jump into any PvP, just to stock up on all my supplies. And doing that every day, instead of trying to bang out a whole trade skill at once, is really the most efficient way to level them. Because it's really, really easy, and trust me, I can tell you this from experience. It's really easy to burn out and spend a lot of money trying to max out trade skills really fast. If you take it slowly and just do it day by day, before you realize it, a week or two and you'll have a bunch of them maxed. But yeah, if you have any questions at all, please let me know in the comments. As always though, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.